What's up, YouTube? I'm Max, and this is my affirmation video from a book I've been copying called From Poverty to Power by James Allen. This is my affirmation video. I just basically copied the book here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and read it to you, and I'm just reading it to myself. So this is the lesson of evil. I don't know why I'm laughing, but just whatever. Unrest and I just suggest you just listen to what I have to say. Instead of just been saying the same thing over and over again. And here I am saying the same thing over and over again. So this is a lesson of evil. I hope you listen to what I have to say. I think it's a minute. Unrest, pain, and sorrow are the shadows of life. There is no heart in all the world that has not felt the sting of the pain, and no mind that has not been tossed in the dark matters of trouble, no eye that has been wrapped up in hot blinding tears, unspeakable anguish. There is no household where the great destroyers, disease and death had not entered, severing heart from heart and casting upon the outer of the dark and of the sorrows in which are the strong and apparently indestructible meshes of evil. All have more or less fast and caught a pain, a unhappiness, and misfortune that weighed upon humankind. But the object of escaping or in some way mitigating this overshadowing gloom, men and women have rushed blindly into innumerable devices, pathways by which they fondly hope to enter into a happiness that will not pass away. Such are those who revel in sensual excitement, such are those who are exclusive in aesthetics, and those who shut themselves out from the sorrows of the world are surrounding themselves with very much luxuries, but such are those who are for thirst for wealth and fame, but subordinate themselves all along all achievements of that object. And such things I have to continue to repeat, and such things who seek consolidation in the performance of all of these rites in which happiness is sought means to come, and which for the soul at the time is lured into the sweet security of intoxicating forgetfulness of this existence of evil. But the day of disease comes at last, or some great sorrow, and the temptation of misfortune breaks suddenly in on the fortitude of the soul, and the fabric of the fanciness of happiness is the shreds so over of which everything in which we must enjoy and that hangs down. But at the same time, you have to think about it. And the souls of which are those who are unprotected by this knowledge. Even if you don't completely understand entirely everything that I am saying, at least you hear my voice. The child cries to be a man of a woman, the man and the woman sigh in the first lost of facility. And if I don't say a word, I say a word, you say a word, we say words. Words don't even matter, it's a word. It's a word, it's a word, it's a word. And sometimes the soul feels that it has found a secure peace and happiness in adopting a certain religion or embracing it in tech and philosophy, or in building in tech or artistic ideal. But the same overpowering temptation proves the religion to be inadequate or insufficient, that the theoretical philosophy to be found useless in such a prop in a moment of idealistic stature upon which the person who is devoted to for years and has been laboring is shattered into fragments. Is there then no way of escape from pain and sorrow? Are there no means by which the bonds of evil can be broken, and are permanent in happiness, security, prosperity, and abiding peace just a foolish dream? No, there is no such way. I speak it with gladness. I speak of it now with gladness, and I speak of it now with gladness, and I speak of it now with gladness, and I speak of it now with gladness, by which evil can be overcome, and there is a process by which disease poverty, or any other adverse condition and circumstance can be on one side and never to return. There is a method by which a permanent prosperity can be secured, free from all which will return to the adversity. There is a practice which is unbroken, and unending peace and bliss can be partaken and realized. The beginning of the way that leads to this glorious realization is the acquisition of the right understanding of the nature of evil. It is not sufficient to deny or ignore evil, it must be understood. It is not enough to pray to God to remove the evil. You must find out why it is there and why the lesson it has for you. It has of no avail to fret and fume or chafe over the time in which it was spent on to you, but you have now been bound, and therefore you must get outside yourself, and you must begin to examine yourself and understand yourself. You must cease to be disobedient as a child and experience, and must begin to learn with understanding and patience the lessons that are set for your education and to ultimate perfection. For even when right understood, is found to be not an unlimited power or principle over the universe, but is passing phase of human experience. And therefore becomes a teacher to those who are willing to learn. Evil is not abstract, something outside yourself, and is experience in which your heart, and patiently examining and rectifying your own heart, you will gradually be led to the discovery of arrangements of evil which will be not necessary to be followed by the complete eradication. All evil is corrosive and not understandable to my eye, and is not permanent. It is rooted in ignorance, and ignorance is at a true nature of relations of things. And so long as we remain in that state of ignorance, we remain subject to evil, and there is no evil in the universe, which is not the result of ignorance, which is not what we would be ready and willing to learn if this lesson leads us to a higher wisdom, and then we vanish away. But people remain evil, and it does not pass away because they are not willing to be prepared to learn the lesson that came to teach them. COVID-19. I know a child, and every night with its mother it took to bed and cried to be allowed to be played with the candle. And one night when the mother was off guard for a moment, the child took hold of the candle. An inevitable result followed, and the child never wished to play with the candle again. But it is the foolish act. It learned from its perfectly timed, perfectly learned lesson in obedience, and it entered into the knowledge that fire burns. And this incident is a complete illustration of the nature, meaning, and an ultimate result of all sin and evil. Pandemic outbreak. As a child fire, so over the children suffer through the ignorance of the real nature of things of which we first strive after, and which harm them and then are secured. Is the only difference between being that in the later cases, ignorance and evil are more deeply rooted than obscure. Evil always has been symbolized by darkness, and good by light, and hidden within the symbol is contained the perfect illustration, the reality. For just as light always floods the universe, and the darkness is always a mere speech shadow by cast upon, intercepting a few rays out of the illuminates light, so that the light supreme good is the positive good that's life-giving power, which floods the universe, and the evil is insignificant shadow cast by the self that intercepts and shuts off the illumination of rays which strive for the entrance. When night folds the world in black mantle, no matter how dense in darkness it covers but small space over the half of the life of the planet, while the whole universe is ablaze, and while living in light, and every soul knows that it will awake with light in the morning. Know that when there is a dark night of sorrow or pain or misfortune settle down upon your soul and unstable, you will be weary and uncertain of steps, and you will be merely intercepting your own personal desires. Between yourself and the boundless light of joy and bliss, and the dark shadow that covers is the cast by what nothing but yourself. And just as the darkness with is the negative shadow and unreality which comes from nowhere and goes to nowhere and has no abiding dwelling place, so where the darkness, which is equally a negative shadow that's passing over, is revolving light bound soul. But why pass through the darkness of evil at all? because by ignorance you have chosen to do so, and because by doing so you may understand both good and evil, and may more appreciate the light by having passed through the darkness. As evil is the direct outcome of ignorance, so when your true lessons of evil are fully learned, ignorance passes away and wisdom takes its place. But as the disobedient child refuses to learn its lessons at school, so it is possible to refuse the lessons of the experience, and thus remain in continual darkness, and to suffer continual recurring punishment in the form of disease, disappointment, and sorrow. If you wish to shake yourself free of the evil which encompasses you, you must be willing to, ready to learn, and must be prepared to undergo that disciplinary process without which no grain of wisdom or abiding happiness in which peace can be secured. You may shut yourself up in a dark room and deny that the light exists when it's everywhere without, and darkness exists only in this little room. So you may shut out the light of truth, or you may begin to pull down the walls of prejudice, but self-seeking and error, and then that you built that yourself around. So you let the glorious and omnipresent light absorb into yourself by the earnest self-examination and the ability to strive and to realize not mercifully, but to hold not such a theory that evil is a passing phase, a self-created shadow, that all your pain, sorrows, and misfortunes you have come to by the process of undeviating an absolute perfect law, but have come to because you deserve and require them, and that by the first enduring and then understanding them, you may be made stronger, wiser, and nobler. When you have fully entered into this realization, you will be into position to mold your own circumstance, and to transmute all evil into good, and to weave with a master hand the fabric of your destiny. Let me go out of here. That was an affirmation video to From Poverty to Power by James Allen, The Lesson of Evil. And I'm Max, and I hope you're listening, and I'm out.